Hey guys, it's Mr. Dustin here. One of the things that we wanted to do was give you an opportunity to have some activities that you can do as a family. Something that we won't necessarily get to do this week as a body, as we normally would, is get to have communion together. So, one of the things that we have here is some supplies to be able to make your own unleavened bread. So, the things that you're going to need is, this is whole wheat flour. Any flour should work. This is 3/4 of a cup. We'll start with that and then we'll add tablespoons more of flour as needed. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to a 1/2 cup of hot water that has already been microwaved. So we're going to add that in. And then I have some olive oil. We need a 1/2 tablespoon of olive oil. Add that. Mix that in a second. And then we also need a 1/2 tablespoon of honey. That will help sweeten the dough. So add that. Quick tip, if you put the oil in the tablespoon first, the honey will come out more easily. All right, we'll leave that here. And then we need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We'll add to that. So then we are going to start mixing this all together, and I will come back to you whenever it is more of a dough consistency. So you can see that we've got everything mixed together here, and it's a fairly good, consistency, but it's very sticky still. So we're going to add tablespoons of flour until we get more of a dough consistency. So I'm going to add one here, and I'm going to mix that, and I'm going to keep doing this until I get the right consistency, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like then. All right. So we have finished adding all of our flour. I think I had to add about 6 or 7 more tablespoons of flour. Pro tip, wash your hands. And once we did that, we got a dough that has kind of stopped sticking to the sides of the thing and stopped sticking to your hands, and it looks like this. You'll find that as you start mixing it, your whisk doesn't do you a lot of good because the dough gets pretty stiff, so you have to start kneading it with your hands. So we're going to take that and put it onto our cutting board. Now, if you don't have one of these little silicone things, I recommend that you would put some flour down on your cutting board so that the dough won't stick to that as you try to flatten it out. So we're going to take this and we're just going to spread it out, get it nice and flat onto this little sill chef thing so that it will be flat bread. Unleavened bread is not meant to rise. It is supposed to stay flat. That's part of the deal. So we're flattening it out good. You can use a rolling pin if you want to, or this might be a good thing. Your kids can just get in there and use their hands. So once we flatten it and get it, I don't know, 1/4 inch thick or so, we'll take a fork and we'll just kind of poke rows of holes in it. You don't have to poke hard. These will help give the bread an opportunity to vent so that it doesn't rise and it'll stay fairly flat. And just because, we'll go this way too. Makes it look more official if it has the holes in it, right? And we'll take that, set it onto our cookie sheet. And we'll take this and put it in the oven. Again, something 14 to 20 minutes. And we'll come back when it's done, so you can see what that looks like. All right, so it's just finished. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. Don't burn yourself. I don't like hot things. Close the oven. So this is really about what it should look like. It's just kind of crispy on the top, and it should just be almost like a crust, really. So one of the things that we have done, we made some last week, we put it in double bagged sandwich bags and broke it up so that you can freeze it. It actually freezes really well so you can store it, because you probably won't eat all of this in one Sunday. But one of the things that I think is significant about this whole thing is why is it unleavened bread? And I think it's important that you can go back and look at Exodus, the 13th chapter. We all know about the Passover, the day that the Lord, the destroyer, passed over those that were in Israel, where they were Israelites living in Egypt. But to follow is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. In chapter 13, there's an interesting phrase that says, "In time to come, when your son should ask you, what's the meaning of this?" You have a story to tell them, and you explain these things to them. And you'll say to them, for 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days. No leavened bread shall be seen with you, and no leaven shall be seen with you in all your territory. You shall tell your son on that day, it is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. And it shall be to you as a sign on your hand and as a memorial between your eyes, that the law of the Lord may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand the Lord has brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this statute at its appointed time from year to year. So God always has a reason for why we do the things that we do. Unleavened bread, it's a reminder. The people came out of Egypt, God delivered them with a strong and mighty hand. And then now, what does it mean to the Christian? Take some opportunity and talk about that with your family, and I hope that this has been a blessing to you as an activity to do with your family and a good reminder of what God has done for you in delivering you from slavery to sin with a strong and outstretched arm.